Simple, joyful mama, that's who I am. Living, loving, doing all I can. Join the fun, let's make
Hi, hello. Welcome to my very first blog, vlog, video inspo slash video podcast. I'm not sure what you would call one of these videos. I am just starting out, so I'm really excited that anyone would watch this and want to join me on this very fun journey we get to call motherhood. Motherhood is such a high calling, hence, I really strive to do my best job every single day. Obviously, I fail every single day, but I really want this vlog series to just be inspirational to anyone who is maybe going through motherhood trenches and maybe just feel a little bit inspired. A little bit about me: I've been a mother for just 6 years. My oldest is 6, my youngest is 2, and we're expecting another baby in early March. I stay home with the kids. I do a lot of homemaking, a lot of cooking from scratch. This particular day that I'm showing you was actually a Saturday. My husband went fishing. I was home with the kids, and we always try to start our day with the Bible. I read the real Bible to my kids for probably the past 1.5 to 2 years. And honestly, I do it mostly for myself because it is just chaos central. But I realized when I was in the early years of motherhood, when my first one was born, that I don't have the time to do devotionals, but I need the Bible. I need Jesus. And it was a challenge. I remember for a while, I actually used to just read with the baby on my lap, but then I had another baby 18 months later when my first one was just 18 months. And that hit hard. It was impossible to now read anything or do any devotionals. So, me reading the real Bible to the kids has actually been an attempt to just do my own devotionals, but have the kids be involved. And honestly, it's been such a blessing. It's been so much fun. I really encourage you to do it. So then my husband came home and he was able to catch a salmon in the morning. So I'm making salmon soup. It's one of our favorites. It is the easiest soup you can make. The base of the soup is definitely in the fish stock. So if you've never made it, it looks gross, but it is the best. I already made the stock off camera, but I'll tell you a little bit about it in just a sec. Right here, I'm actually already starting the actual soup. So I grab a pot. In that pot, I start by sauteing some onion and carrot, and then I add the fish stock. Then to that, you add the diced up peeled potatoes. If you never made fish stock before, again, this looks gross, but it is the base of the whole soup. You need fish head, fish fins, and bones, and you throw all of that into a large pot. You add onion, carrot, add water, let it simmer. You don't need to boil it for a long time. You actually don't need to boil it at all because there's going to be a lot of like impurities and just kind of things coming up. So as soon as it starts boiling, you can take it off the heat and just keep it on the hot stove and keep it covered. I keep it covered for maybe 40 minutes, and that's how I get my stock without like all of that junkiness. Actually, my pot was clearly way too small for my soup, so I had to transfer it to a larger pot in which I made the stock. And it might look like a giant pot for us, but this will last us a couple of meals. So again, this is one of those frugal, super cheap, super awesome meals that just feeds the whole family. I'm actually taking some of the fish off of the bones. You have to be careful in this step not to add any bones to your soup. Then I checked if the potato was done. It was still kind of not really done. So I'm letting it simmer a little bit longer. While I'm simmering, I'm cleaning up. This is called productive or multitasking, I guess. So actually going back to the soup now, the potato is done. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mash the potato a tiny bit. You don't need to mash it all the way, just some big chunks of it. You want it for the texture, but if you mash it a little bit, it gives it that perfect creamy texture. You carefully, clearly I wasn't doing it carefully, but carefully add diced up salmon to your soup. Now, this goes really quickly because salmon cooks so quickly. You add your spices. I added Old Bay, celery salt. This is always my staple in soups. It gives the perfect sweet flavor. And I also add nutritional yeast, which also gives that really umami kind of flavor. It If you've never tried nutritional yeast, it tastes a little bit cheesy, but it's like salty and sweet at the same time. Really perfect. Since I'm making it for my family, I can drink it straight out of the pot. It's so delicious. I actually ended up adding some more black pepper and paprika. Once you like the flavor, you add half a cup to a cup of heavy whipping cream, depending on how large your pot of soup is. This has to be done at the end because you don't actually want to like cook the milk. It just curds together. So it essentially at this point, I turn off the stove. Now, the king of this whole soup is, of course, fresh dill. Yes, you can use dried dill, but fresh gives it the most perfect flavor. I have this entire big bunch of fresh dill, so I'm adding it, and that's it. You pour it into your soup bowls, and you fill your bellies with the most nutritious and delicious salmon soup. After family lunch, we took a walk near our neighborhood park and fed the ducks. It was just such a beautiful autumn day. My husband caught a snake for the kids. My kids love snakes, actually, but this time around, every one of them was petrified to touch it or hold it. If you haven't started doing family walks, I definitely recommend it because it's one of the best ways to connect and relax and just unwind from the day with your kids, with your spouse, with anyone actually in general. Back at home, I was trying out a new recipe for sandwich bread that is not using butter, but instead using olive oil or just some sort of oil. Here, I'm cutting out my parchment paper to fit into my mold for my bread. It's one of the best ways to make sure that your bread comes out. I'm pretty sure you can't not put the parchment paper in. I don't know if you guys are the same way. I have such a hard time following recipes. So, of course, I kind of made my own thing, and the bread was, the dough was a little bit floppy, but it still held its shape. Maybe it over fermented. I'm not sure. I can't say that I'm like this amazing baker or anything, but my husband decided to go back fishing again in the evening. He took our son, and they both had a little father son bonding time fishing together. Mm, The fishing trip wasn't as successful as the morning one, but that's okay. I realized this is something I am learning how to do, is to just let my husband enjoy doing things that he enjoys, because I think a lot of times we as women don't allow our men to do manly things because they're kind of bad at it. Like, he's still learning how to fish. He's still not very good at it. And I definitely want to be that support, that helper to my husband. So it's been a couple of hours. My bread rose, and I am gonna brush it with some heavy whipping cream to give it that beautiful brown color. Actually, my bread was definitely brown. You'll see a little bit later. My next loaf I brushed with milk, and it wasn't as dark. I don't necessarily like doing egg washes on breads because I feel like makes the crust a little bit crusty, but milk or heavy whipping cream works beautifully. And now I'm actually working on this super easy, such a delicious, flaky pie crust. This pie crust comes together with minimal equipment. As you can see, I'm using my cheese grater. You just take cold butter, dip it into some flour, and grate it on the cheese grater. And you do that with the 2 sticks of butter. I will leave a detailed recipe for this pie crust in the description below. So if you're interested, definitely take a look. You will not regret making this pie crust. So then you just add some salt, some sugar to a pie crust. And then actually at this point, you just need to get the butter and the flour incorporated together. You want it to become kind of like sand. So at first it's like really not sandy, and you just keep working it. Don't overwork it to the point where the butter will melt, but work it to the point where it'll become this combined sandy texture. Half a cup of sour cream goes in, and you can work it in with your spatula, because at first it's really wet. I don't know. I can't say that I enjoy the texture at first. So I work it with my spatula to get everything incorporated, but then you do need to dump it out on the countertop and work it together until it becomes a nice mass, like a nice dough. Again, you do not want to overwork it because there's butter in it. If it melts from the heat of your hands, it will not be flaky. It will not be crusty. It will just be bit. So you have to move quickly, but don't rush through this. Then this whole entire ball, I split into two, and you want it to go into two separate plastic wraps or whatever you use. You flatten the dough so that way it'll be easier to use it when you are going to be using it for your pie. It's easier to roll out, it's easier to work with it in general. Also, whenever I roll my pie crust out, I roll it on the plastic wrap, and that makes a huge difference because you can pick it up with the plastic wrap and place it into your pie mold. In the fridge, it goes until further notice. So I'm actually going to make my own apple pie filling, and this is also such an easy recipe. You know what you'll get from this channel. I don't do anything hard. I don't want to do hard. I don't do anything hard. I do it easy, and I don't follow recipes. I make up my own. So, for this particular recipe, you need about you need 4 apples, but I'm doubling the recipe, so I'm using 8 apples because I'm making 2 apple pies. In this recipe, you need to peel the apples. You know what? That's too much work. I am just gonna cut the apples because I'm not canning this apple pie filling. I am just using it for tomorrow's pies. So dice everything up as nicely as you could. By the way, you obviously need to wash the apples. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's a given. I'm using these apples that my husband gathered from an orchard near that he was working. I don't know what kind of apples they are. They're pretty sweet. Now, in a large pot, you add butter and cinnamon. You let that melt together. Once it's melted, you add your water and then you throw in your apples. Now, I am not joking you. This step moves so quickly. Once you add the apples, you need to keep turning the apples, making sure that they're not going to soft too quickly because you don't want it to go too soft. It's going to bake some more in the actual apple pie. This step takes maybe 3 minutes at most. Add your sugar. I actually added a pinch of salt as well. I don't think it did anything. I probably would not even waste my breath next time. To thicken up the pie filling, you need to make a cornstarch slurry. That's basically just what it is. It's water and cornstarch combined. You mix it all, then you turn off the heat and you let it rest. You don't want to use hot apple pie filling in your apple pie, so you just need to let it cool off. I'm making apple pies tomorrow. I'm making this late in the evening, so it's going to stand on the stove until tomorrow. Here's my beautifully brown bread, maybe a little bit too brown, but it was delicious. I unmolded it and then you have to let it rest. Don't cut into your bread too early. That is a very rookie mistake. This sandwich recipe was delicious. I adjusted it slightly because I added some whole wheat flour to it as well, but I can link it below the recipe that I used. I made a couple more loaves actually following the recipe, and it was absolutely gorgeous. Here's one of the apple pies that I made. I didn't record it. I made it so early in the morning before church, so that way we could have friends come over after church for tea. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoy this kind of content, please consider subscribing or leave a comment. I would love to connect with you. I hope to see you again soon. Now, bye.